Hey everybody, it's Super Nerd here, and today we're going to do a deck tech over mono green dinosaurs for standard for 2019 until it gets rotated out of October, because a lot of things are in both Exelon and Rivals of Exelon. So in the deck, I have 2 copies of Galta Primal Hunter, legendary creature, costs 10 and 2 green. What his cost is X less. When X is the total power of creatures you control, it's 12/12 with trample. Really easy to get off. Pairs really well with Gigantosaurus. So it basically just costs 2 green to get out pretty quick. Next, we're going to have 2 copies of Rampaging Brontodon, my personal favorite card of the deck. With the mana ramp that's in the deck, he come out a lot cheaper, 7/7 with trample. When he attacks, he gets a +1/+1 until end of turn for each land I control. So he can become insane, especially with trample. I run 2 copies of Verdant Sun Avatar. Verdant Sun Avatar, 5 and 2 green as a 5/5. Put him on the field, gain 5 life. Every dinosaur that comes afterwards, you gain a bunch of life, especially with these dinosaurs like Galta as a 12/12, Gigantosaurus as a 10/10. If you're playing burn decks, definitely a good stable card to have in there. Run 2 copies of Gigantosaurus. Gigantosaurus, 5 green as a 10/10, doesn't have trample, but more than likely, if you come across something that 5/5, 6/6, kind of a big creature, kind of force them to block it or not attack you so they can have a blocker, because 10 damage is definitely a lot to take. 1 copy of Carnage Tyrant. I'm not sure if I want to run another one. It's an expensive card. It currently runs at about $23, $24 a piece. But the fact that you can't be countered, trample, hexproof, 4 and 2 green, you can get them out even cheaper, especially with mana ramp. There's a 7/6. It's definitely a good staple card to have in the deck for sure. So Crested Herd Caller, trample, 3/3. It comes out, you create another 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample, so you can start to spam the board a little bit. And when you do that, it also helps pay for Galta's effect. If they have several creature tokens, I mean, now you're having 3/3s with trample, so it helps with the trample ability. And I run 3 copies of those. So also with mana ramp, get out your dinosaurs cheaper. I have 2 copies of Night at the Stampede for 3 and a green. Dinosaurs cost 2 less. Only run 2 copies, mainly for the fact that if you run more than these, you're getting 9 dinosaur creatures. You can't get these out cheaper because they aren't considered dinosaurs if you already have one out. But running 2, great in the deck. So for mana ramp purposes, I have Ranging Raptors. Whenever they're dealt damage, I go fetch a land, put it on the battlefield. Sometimes they don't want to block because they don't want you to mana ramp because they know what else could be coming. So then you get a free hit for 2. Good either way. Mana ramp card, Drover the Mighty. I have 2 copies of them. They get a +2/+2, so become a 3/3 creature for 2. As long as you control another dinosaur, your deck's full of dinosaurs. It's easy to get to 2/2. Most people forget because they're not counters that it becomes a 3/3 and end up trying to block it, dying, or letting it attack and end up taking the extra damage. But the fact that you can mana ramp, adding mana to your mana pool, definitely great. Great turn 1 cards, Llanowar Elves, tap, add green to mana pool, just definitely helps with mana ramp. Next I'm going to go to the spells. So we have 4 copies of Commune of Dinosaurs. Commune of Dinosaurs, sorry, let me get that adjusted. Commune of Dinosaurs cost 1. You can look the top 5, grab a dinosaur or a land among them, put it in your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order, so you don't shuffle your deck. They all go to the bottom, but there's a way to still, if there's good cards that I went to the bottom, to shuffle them back in the deck. I'll show you that here in a minute. but great if you're searching for a dinosaur early in the game. You need land. You could potentially grab that land. So I definitely would like to run 4 copies of those. I'll run 3 copies of Rabid Bite. Rabid Bite is pretty cheap. I can have my creature deal its damage to another target creature, kill it pre-combat, post-combat. You have flyers or something that's hard to manage to deal with. They don't want to block your creature because they don't want to lose their creature. Gets rid of it. If they have Death Touch, you don't need to worry about Death Touch killing your creature because their creature's not dealing combat damage to yours. Run 2 copies of Savage Stomp because they more than likely will go on a dinosaur creature. It only costs a green. You also put a +1/+1 counter, have it fight another creature. I find it really great pre-combat. Dinosaurs get beefed up. I might be able to wipe their side of the board beforehand and then just go in there with a creature even stronger and not have to worry about the creature blocking. I run 2 copies of Open the Gates. So I do like Open the Gates because, yeah, I could replace it with just a solid land, but because the Communal Dinosaurs actually has you put everything on the bottom. If there's good stuff on the bottom, it allows you to shuffle your deck, and definitely adds better consistency with the deck to have it. I don't run more than 2 just because running more than 2, then you wind up not having enough land, and it's taking room for some other stuff. I run 2 copies of New Horizons. I'm thinking about possibly changing this for Gift of Paradise or Gifted Paradise. Instead of putting the +1/+1 counter on target creature I control, I would gain 3 life instead, and then it also adds 2 mana of any mana to my mana pool, the land it enchants. I run 1 copy of Growing Rice of the Atomic. Play the card. I'm able to search for a creature, put it in my hand, put the rest in the bottom of my library in any order. Open the Gates allows me to then shuffle my deck, which is helpful. And then if I control 4 more creatures, then I can transform it. Well, with the Crested Herd Caller, also producing tokens, I get the additional creatures, and it basically turns into a Gaia's Cradle, which is fantastic. I green to mana pool for each creature I control. So the mana ramp on the deck is phenomenal. I can pull off stuff really quickly. I run 2 copies of Naturalize. If they're running heavy artifacts, heavy enchantments, or their artifact or enchantment is really just bogging you down, it's good to have those in there. Most of your creatures will have power 4 or greater, so beginning of upkeep and then draw step. Every turn, draw 2 cards, double them up, draw 3 cards a turn. Because you have mana ramp, a lot of times you can play whatever you pull, so top decking won't be as much of an issue. And I run 2 copies of Root Snare. Just if they have something that's hard for you to manage, they're spamming the board with a bunch of tokens. You're easily able to just play this. Their stuff's tapped. You go in and you take care of it. I've won a couple of games using Root Snare. So, sorry. Definitely worth having. And I also run 20 lands. Sorry, I get my camera adjusted. So I run 20 lands. So literally a third of the deck. It's a 60 card deck. Sideboard. I run 2 copies of Runic Armor Sword sideboard. If they're having a lot of creatures to activate abilities or lands activate abilities that aren't mana, additional draw support. It's a cheap creature, 2/5. If flyers become an issue, pretty bad, where they're not saving them to block the other big creatures you have. Grazing Whiptail, great to throw in there. It's pretty cheap. You could potentially get it for just 2 green on the board as a 3/4 creature, and block the flyers. If artifact and enchantments are really an issue in their deck, then Real cheap creature, Thrashing Bronodom, destroy the artifact or enchantment as 3/4 creature, so it's definitely pretty good. I have Ravenous Daggertooth in here just because right now in Standard I'm seeing a lot more burn and mono red decks come along, so along with the Verdant Sun avatar to gain life, I'll throw Ravenous Daggertooth in there. You might be able to throw it out for 1 green because of the Knights of the Stampede. It's dealt damage, gain 2 life, so they try to block with a 1/1, you still keep your creature, gain 2 life. Even if they kill the creature, 3 power, still pretty strong, and anytime it's dealt damage, gain life. So Wayward Swordtooth has Ascend, so if you have City's Blessing, then it can attack and block. But it doesn't need the City's Blessing to have the ability to play an additional land each turn. So with some of your land fetch cards, you're able to not only play the land per turn, but then play your additional land, so it's great if you really need to mana ramp up a little faster. Polyraptor, a lot of people find it annoying to play against, but especially if you're dealing burn deck, throw Polyraptor out there. They don't want to burn it, and just they want to eat 5 damage because it will multiply and the tokens will make tokens, and it gets insane. Spells on the sideboard, 2 copies of Pounce, just more cards to make me fight your creatures, usually pre-combat. So if they have pretty decent sized creatures, they're doing something crazy, you know, throw a couple more Pounces in there and try to help clear their board, as well as throwing another Rapid Bite, take care of their creatures. Root Snare, just in case combat's getting real iffy, you need the consistency to be able to block all combat damage each turn. And 1 copy of Enter the Unknown for 1 creature, or 1 green. Target creature you control explores. Possibly get a +1/+1 counter on creature. You can play another land. Turn 1, you can end up getting 2 lands and Llanowar Elves. Turn 2, have potentially 4 mana, maybe even more. And with that much mana, maybe get Knights of the Stampede out and really start pumping out the big dinosaurs turn 4 or 5. And of course, you want to have yourself your 3/3 dinosaur creature tokens for Crested Herdcaller. But this is Super Nerd. Feel free to like and subscribe to my video. Again, I apologize for the camera falling down earlier, but if you like the video, go ahead and comment, subscribe, anything that you may tweak in the deck, and so you know, this deck has won local standard tournament. Definitely played really well. It was a lot more difficult for people to try to get around the big creatures with trample early on in the game. Most were mid or late game kind of decks. Just couldn't handle it at all. Even earlier game decks, I could still get out big creatures quick. They don't have much of an answer for it. But yeah, this is Super Nerd. I hope you like this video, and I plan on bringing you more videos to come.